Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play Cast, episode 217, brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I'm your sick host, Mike Byrne, aka magicman, so I apologize for my voice and my watery eyes, but we still wanted to get a cast together because we got stuff to talk about in the free-to-play world, including getting somebody's take on the whole Secret World stuff now that they're back with us. But first, Mr. Jason Winter, how are you, sir?
I couldn't quite tell there if you were actually puffy or if it was just like bad resolution on your image.
I hate you. I hate you. I feel like ass, man. I have all week. We were going to record yesterday, ended up having to move it just because I look like death. And, man, it's just not any better today, and I can hear it in my own voice, so this should be fun.
You sound fine.
Do I sound all right? All right, good.
Yeah, good enough.
I just don't want it to be one of those casts where it's like, you ever sit there and watch something where you know the person was sick and you could hear it in their voice, and you're like, I can't watch this. As long as I sound normal, fine. We'll just use Q and Jason's camera shots instead of mine.
I'll tell you what, you can talk, and I'll do like the bad Japanese voice singing.
Also there with us, we mentioned our Q. You're back. How are you?
I'm okay. Tired, but okay.
Can you angle your camera down just a touch?
We want to get more of the bird, really. That's all it's all about.
Perfect.
Get more what?
Perfect.
We just want to get more of the bird. That's why.
Yeah. Tess, come here, Tess.
So you've been traveling, but now you're settled again.
Yeah, mostly.
Woohoo! And you have a friend back there.
Although I miss the pink and the purple.
Oh, the crazy wall colors.
Miss that.
Forgot about that. So let's slide over to the news, because there is a topic I want to touch base on with Q real quick here, and then we'll move on to a rapid fire. All right, Q, so we talked in depth on the show about the Secret World becoming Secret World Legends, and we had an interview with them where, I'm going to be honest, they really didn't reveal much that they hadn't revealed to everybody else in the world, which was basically nothing. Besides, this is what we're doing. There is a beta going on. Of course, you know, all that stuff is NDA'd, so even if any of us were in beta, which I am neither confirming nor denying is the case, we couldn't talk about that anyway. But we didn't get a chance to touch base with you, Q, and you and I have played Secret World for years now, since our Game Breaker days when it first launched. I wanted to get your initial gut reaction to the whole changeover to Secret World Legends, and whether you feel this is going to be something good, something bad, whether you're disappointed that the MMO is just in maintenance mode. What are your general feelings? And then I do want to touch, Jason, on one or two things that I think were important in the interview that we got that maybe some other outlets did not get. So Q, what were your initial thoughts as this all kind of broke out of nowhere?
Yeah, so I mean, people have since the launch of Secret World been complaining about the combat and stuff, and honestly it was something that never bothered me because I didn't play the game for the combat. I mean, obviously it felt very soft, like I guess is the best way to describe it. But it wasn't my primary concern with the game. And when the game was launched, they basically went, hey, look, this is not a game for everybody. And so now they're basically going, oh, wait, I guess we need to make the game for everybody. And coming back and changing everything. And I don't really mind that they're making changes to the combat. I don't like the direction they're going because I'm not a big fan of the action MMO combat. I'm just not. You know, so that has me worried a little bit that I won't like it. And then some of the other stuff that just kind of, I don't know, it makes no sense to me because they're like, oh, we're wanting to make it easier for people to get into it. But the stuff that they're saying that's like so daunting, I mean, I think the only thing that makes, like, I guess real sense in their systems is the whole, well, there's no level, so I guess people don't feel the accomplishment of, you know, that ding, that leveling, right? Because they did make a big deal about, we're putting the ding in.
Right.
But, like, the wheel, there's nothing complicated about the wheel. It's really not that hard. And you know, like, yeah, you have to play with it a little bit. It's different from the other stuff that you did, but the skill wheel is not that hard to deal with. And the fact that you can literally could get all the skills, all 500 and, well, I think it was originally 525 and then they added more as they added auxiliary weapons and all of that stuff. But over time, you can literally get all the skills. So it's like, okay, well, if you goofed up a little bit, you're still going to be able to pick up the skills that, you know, you need. Like, I was working my way through all the decks, and it was almost a game, right? Like, figuring out, I need, this deck needs hammers and guns, and this deck needs hammers and swords. Well, I already have all of this of hammers and guns, so I only need 3 things for hammers. And so I work on the hammers and swords, and, you know, and like, so like, you know, just pretty much completing all the stuff all the way around the wheel, like figuring out the best way to go about doing it. So it was almost like a mini game in that way. But like, some of the stuff that they're like, oh, to make it easier for new players, it's like, I just don't see how it wasn't that hard to begin with.
Yeah, and I do get the point, though, that it can be daunting, obviously. I don't know if that's challenge or difficult. It's just there's a lot there, so whether you decide to unlock it all or not. But I do remember it being, and I thought it was a valid point that they made, at least initially, my first character, I fucked my first character in Secret World so badly, based on the abilities that I picked, that it just became unviable, and I re-rolled again and started over, because there was very little direction. So I could see maybe getting lost, but I'm kind of with you on, I don't think it was overly ridiculously complex, I just wasn't smart about my choices and paid the price.
But as time went on, too, they went in, and because you remember they had the original decks that consisted of, like, they basically had, I think it was, I can't remember the amount of decks that they had, but they had the original decks, and there was a bunch of stuff that you had to get for each of those decks.
Right.
Well, as time went on, they went back and added starter decks, so it was actually easier for you to complete your first deck and have a viable playable character, and then go, okay, well, this deck will easily launch me into one of these bigger decks.
Yeah, and when those launched, I remember thinking that would have been useful at the game's launch for me.
Yeah, for sure, but for new players, you know, coming in, it's fine. And for the rest of us, we're already working our way towards getting, you know, the big deck that's like literally like getting the outfit that's, you know, the whole wheel is filled.
Yep.
Kind of deal. So, I mean, like I said, it's got a learning curve, but I don't know, maybe it didn't seem that hard to me because I started out with MMOs playing Eve.
Mm-hmm.
So,
you're asking MMO players to learn? You say there's learning? Come on, man. Can't expect that.
But maybe that's why it didn't seem that difficult to me. It was like I started out playing Eve, so Eve kind of functioned the same way. You went and picked skills you wanted to learn. Except, you know, the big difference there being you just turn them on and they kind of learn themselves, basically.
It sounds like you're kind of meh about Secret World Legends. Like, you want to be excited about it, but they're making some changes, particularly to combat, that you just may not be interested in, if I'm hearing you right.
Right. Well, and the thing about it is I've always played Secret World for the story, the investigation missions, stuff like that. So if they continue with that, much like most people who played Secret World with the earlier combat, like, I didn't particularly like or dislike that combat. I just kind of lived with it. So, but a lot of people who even still play the Secret World, they really disliked that combat. They just lived with it for the rest of the game. So as long as the rest of the game continues with the story, and, you know, there's plenty of investigation missions continuing and stuff like that, then I will probably just suffer through the combat and, you know, whatever other changes they made that I don't particularly care for.
So we sat down with Scott Jr., executive producer, and did an interview. And Jason, I'm not going to read the entire interview, but please, you know, if you want to check it out, MMOBomb.com, check it out there. But there were a few things that I did want to touch on here. Because we all kind of understand what they're doing here from an aspect of trying to get more people into their game or new players into their game. But what I, as a Secret World player, I'm not really grasping the idea here of this whole new game, because it doesn't seem like there's an incentive for me to want to do this. And I want to take you to a specific question here, Jason, and get your thoughts. I asked, am I, as a longtime Secret World player, playing large portions of the same story over again in Secret World Legends then? Because if I love the story and you're just making a game based on the story, well, then there's no reason for me to play that single-player RPG, right? I've already played that. So Scott's answer was the overall story of the game and a majority of the cutscenes remain unchanged. This was the main strength of the Secret World, and our goal is to encourage everyone to experience it firsthand. For long-time and returning players, however, they will notice that in several places the flow of the story has changed. It's been improved to fit the new gameplay better, and on occasions the actual storytelling has improved, filled in some of the logic gaps that existed in the original game, and answering some long-standing questions. In short, it's the same, but better. And to me, Jason, this feels like you're taking the MMO, like, what is the incentive for a long-time Secret World player that's played through all of the issues and is up to date on everything? What is the incentive to jump over to this new game? Sure, if you didn't like Secret World, the MMO, or you never gave it a whirl, maybe this, you know, smaller co-op multiplayer game will give you a chance to experience an awesome story RPG style, but what's the incentive for the Secret World players at that point, Jason?
The incentive is that this game will keep getting development.
True. Yeah, true.
That's really about it. Although, what they almost should do maybe is something like when BioWare did the thing where they do the times 12 experience so you can just go through doing just the storyline missions. They should probably do that here for players who are very experienced Secret World players. So yeah, you might still have to do the main story stuff over again, but at least you don't have to do all the different sub-stories and all the different random quests on. You can just kind of speed through that part of it. That's probably what they ought to do, but I don't know if they have a way to implement that, or if they're going to eventually do something to make up for all the potential outrage that players like you are going to have.
Yeah, and I took it further. I said investigation missions, side missions, all that content I've played through must also be done again, and if so, has it changed in any meaningful way to accommodate the Secret World player? Scott said, given the work done throughout all locations, a lot of the side missions have been reworked to fit the new gameplay and layout of the story flow. Several new side missions have also been added to fill in some gaps and encourage further exploration of each playfield. Thanks to their nature and intricacies, the investigation-style missions will remain largely unchanged, aside from improvements here and there. So even the investigation missions, I'm just investigating the same stuff that I've already investigated in. And it feels like, I mean, you made the point, is the reason for me to play through all of this is because issue 18, 19, and 20, if I want to play those, I'm only going to get the chance to do it here. And that feels kind of like, screw you, Secret World fans, go do it again.
Yeah, I mean, they don't really have a solution to it. I mean, otherwise, of course, the solution would be to take the new game and implement it in Secret World, which you have to think that they thought of that. They realized that was what they wanted to do. But there's got to be something with either the engine, the new combat system, the way they want to do free-to-play. They can't do it. They would want to, without a doubt, want to do it that way and not get the perception that they are screwing over their old-time players, but they must just not be able to do it at all. So yeah, it's what you got.
Q, were you ever big into PvP in Secret World? I was not.
I was at the beginning, and then, just because, general life stuff, I kind of fell out of it, because PvP is one of those things that if you want to stay up, you kind of got to really get into it. But on the point of the Secret World players going into it, I think the easiest solution, honestly, if they're like, you have to go to a completely new game, is to just be like, all right, well, you're Secret World players, you've been playing Secret World since it launched, you get a boost. Yeah. At least boost us out of Kingsmouth and,
God, please, yes.
Just give us a boost and be like, all right, because now there's levels, so they can be like, you get boosted to, X level, whatever it is.
Which is kind of what I said, give them some sort of boost so they can get through that stuff quicker, at least. Yeah.
And one thing I hadn't seen that they did answer for us, although it was an update, I asked the question a second time through some emails to get the answer. This was something I hadn't seen in other interviews, so I do want to make sure we touch on it here. I asked, what does this mean for PvP players of the Secret World? I mean, that's something we didn't hear in any of the news stories or any of the interviews I read, was what was happening to PvP. Will Secret World Legends offer anything for them, or are PvP players supposed to stay on the Secret World servers for that? And if that's the case, wouldn't that effectively just kill PvP gameplay, as no new players would be coming into the secret world and old ones leave over time because the game isn't getting updated? And Scott said, we want to build a strong PvP community in Secret World Legends. Our first step will be relaunching with a modified version of Shambhala, which is the newest and most popular PvP map in the Secret World. There are certain aspects of the map that need to be updated to support the changes we're making to the base game. After the Secret World Legends relaunch, we will be looking at Fusang, El Dorado, and Stonehenge, and seeing how we can properly integrate them in Secret World Legends. So I thought that was an interesting update that we hadn't seen anywhere else, Jason, is that Secret World Legends is going to contain, maybe not at launch, but afterwards, the PvP aspect of Secret World as well.
Yeah, they're going to have PvP. Woo.
Yay! which I totally understand. Obvious. If they're going to an action-based combat, then obviously, yes, that has to be entirely reworked. Makes sense to me.
I mean, it makes sense that they wouldn't have just taken that whole chunk of the old game and just not ported it over in the same way, so.
We shall see. Let's do rapid fire round here. What do we got? We got lots of small news over the last week or two here. First up, Asta is coming back. I think we've reported on this before. WebZen shut it down a while ago. Now it's coming back with a new publisher. Move Games Company Limited is taking over the publishing duties. It'll be releasing on Steam later this month. It's the 21st, so sometime in the next week. You can get some free items by going to their Facebook page and stuff. And I just feel like we've seen this before, particularly with WebZen, actually, in 7 Core, where they took a title that had been shut down and tried to just launch it again, and it ended up shutting down again. Do any of us hold out a lot of hope for Asta really hanging on for any significant period of time here, Q?
Probably not.
You could tell she really wanted to try to be nice about it. She was like, Well,
you know, for the people whoever does actually, you know, is really into the game, I would kind
both of them
would, right? Like, well, you know, for those 2 people or whatever, like, if it's their game, it really sucks that it was shut down, so.
She's tried so hard to be gentle and nice, and no, there's no way in hell this game's lasting very long. I'll just go there, and Jason, I'm sure you'll go with me, right?
Yeah, I mean, what did I say when I first shut on the first time? Hasta la vista, baby?
Yeah,
same thing. The same thing.
Jason, we also did an interview with the Warframe team, Digital Extremes, the Warframe team. This was by contributor Stephen Hawk, who got in a little bit of hot water with some Warframe fans as far as an editorial he wrote. I guess I read it differently. I didn't think he was necessarily blasting Warframe, but some Warframe fans got upset with his point of view. So we reached out and touched base with Digital Extremes. They did an interview, and I thought one of the cool things that they were willing to chat about, Jason, was that whole notion of, can you have pay-to-win in a PvE game? And I thought it was kind of cool that they chatted a little bit of their philosophy in that interview on that topic as well. What did you think?
Yeah, I thought they were kind of refreshingly open and honest about it. About, yeah, sure, we want you guys to, we need money to make this game, so occasionally we'll want you to pay for it, or you can, do stuff, take a long time and do it for free. So I thought they did a pretty good job of answering his questions, not really shying away from anything. Which was, when you first sent me the questions, I was like, well, or I think when Steven sent me the questions to look over, I was like, yeah, maybe you should word this a little differently, or maybe I even encouraged him to be a little more aggressive and just see, I'll see what happens. But no, they did a pretty good job, and I thought it came off looking pretty good overall in everything.
Warframe just, me personally, Warframe just does an awful lot right. I just think they do an awful lot right in the free-to-play space. And it's unfortunate.
They're kind of like Path of Exile. Like them and Path of Exile are the 2 companies that everybody just loves.
Yeah, I mean, they just do a lot of stuff. TennoCon coming up in a month or a month and a half here, too. So that'll be interesting to see what we get from them. But if you want to see what Digital Extremes has to say about not only upcoming content, but what they have to say about some of the monetization things that they use and some of their ideas of pay-to-win criticism from others. It's an actually really, really good interview. Check it out on the website as well. Next up, Orcs Must Die Unchained launches for what, the 8th time? ninth time?
Relaunch, launch, whatever.
Yeah, so Orcs, okay, so they took out the PvP.
But it actually really launched. It actually really launched.
Right.
Is it like the Bob's Burgers of games? Just reread.
It is. It is. So they took out the PvP and went with more of their PvE focus, which we all thought fantastic. We all gave them a thumbs up when they did that. Now they're putting the 2.0 release is now live. It actually came out on the 18th, even though it was scheduled for the 19th. But it also brings like a pseudo PvP mode back to the game too. So like now I'm confused, Jason. Where is the direction here for Orcs Must Die Unchained? I'm very confused.
The actual gameplay is still going to have you fighting against computer-controlled monsters, orcs and trolls or whatever. That's what they always want to have. Apparently, I think that's how they want to do it. And I think I actually remember them saying when they took out PvP, they said we still want to put in some sort of PvP, competitive, players versus other players kind of competition, but we want to do it in the proper way to suit Orcs Must Die. Something like that was what they said. And this kind of makes sense. You are still going to fight against hordes of onrushing orcs and trolls and whatever. The difference is that those other hordes are controlled, or at least they're put into the game by the other team. You have two teams of players. You're both going to try to go down an identical lane, separate but identical. And they're going to, if you remember in the original PvP game, you could summon creatures to go down like the opponent's lanes and have them fight them, while you also could fight your opponents at the same time. This just kind of takes out the actual players attacking players directly part of it, but still lets you spawn monsters to go and attack the other players on each side. So it is players versus players in the sense of there are two teams trying to achieve a goal, but they don't come into direct conflict with each other. Just kind of a neat way to do it, I think.
Gotcha. I think we're gonna have to do another first look for this one.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is a game that it's like Paladins, right? Like I've had access to Smite tactics for a while now, but I'm holding off on a first look simply because your friends at High Res drive me nuts with this type of stuff. I did a Paladins first look very early, and 3 updates later, the game looked totally frickin' different to the point that the first look made no sense. So I even talked to Gabe over at High Res. I was like, look, thank you for giving me access to tactics this early. I am going to wait a little while on a first look so that I don't 3 weeks after the first look have a video that's totally useless for anybody wanting information on the game.
I bet you Gabe was totally understanding about that.
Oh, he really was.
Like, yeah.
He really was. Paladins was awful, man. Like, I go and watch that first look, and I'm like, this is not even the same game. It's just not anymore. So, yeah, I think Orcs Must Die, we're going to have to do the same thing. It's so different now, Jason, that we'll do a first look update on it.
An original first look was in the PvP mode, so it's like, it's all there was back then, so.
Yeah. Cloud Pirates launched, Q. What's going on there? Anything special?
I mean, aside from now everybody can actually go in and play with the ships and stuff.
I enjoyed Cloud Pirates. I enjoy Cloud Pirates. I haven't jumped into it since the first look because of other games I'm playing, but that was a team combat game I actually enjoyed quite a bit.
I mean, how can you not just at least like the idea of a game where there's airships?
Right.
That right there is the best selling point for a game ever, just airships.
See, I'm bad in 3 dimensions. I'll stick with my real warships on the ocean. I can't do the 3-dimensional crap.
I'll tell you honestly, this is going to sound stupid, but maybe some people on YouTube will go with me here. It's my never-ending nostalgia for Skies of Arcadia that causes me to just love anything that's airship-based, airship combat-based. Skies of Arcadia was a fantastic Dreamcast game.
So I thought you'd whip out some sort of Final Fantasy reference for all the airships.
Of course, airships.
That's where my love of airships comes from, I'm not going to lie.
So yeah, you want to play some Cloud Pirates? more than 45 unlockable, upgradable ships now, 4 different game modes, customize your own fleets, take part in team battles. It's all available. Nice release trailer came out a day or 2 ago as well. And now we'll cap it off with the what the fuck moment of the rapid fire round. Q, Carbine Studios is hiring.
Yeah. for some game that we don't know what is. And I actually went and looked to see if I could maybe find a trademark or something, and I kind of came up with Jack. But yeah, they're looking for 4 people right now: lead combat designer, senior concept artist, senior graphics engineer, and a senior tools engineer. All of which are jobs I'm not qualified for. So
there is no way this is MMO based, is there?
Except it is, probably. So I looked at the interviews. I looked at the applications. Here are some of the bits. The senior graphics engineer needs to have previous MMO development experience or avid MMO gaming experience. For the animator, you need an animator for characters, creatures, and bosses. So if you're thinking bosses, I'm thinking this more of a PvE kind of game. They want something for entire races of creatures and cultures, and overall multiplayer action combat. So this, I mean, it sure seems a lot more like an MMO than like a MOBA or a shooter or something like that.
Excepting the first thing, right, where it actually says MMO experience.
Sure.
It could be like some co-op-y thing or something like that, rather than an actual like full-fledged.
Well, true. But a PvE kind of game more. So that's I guess what I'm thinking. Yeah.
Yeah. So it could be like some sort of dungeon crawler.
Left 4 Dead or something like that. Yeah.
But the first one specifically saying MMO experience kind of, would lead you to believe. And then again, it might just be the whole, we need somebody who has experience with games that, have a lot of people, whether it's like a traditional MMO or,
MMO
could mean a lot of things.
WildStar-based card game. Here it comes.
Oh, God, no.
WildStar-based.
You don't need an animator then, do you?
Card game.
WildStar-based strategic tower defense style card game.
Hero shooter.
With survival mode or something.
I'm going to be brutally honest here. I was amazed when I saw this. I was just amazed knowing the dire straits situation that is going on with WildStar, Carbine Studios, and NCSoft. I was literally amazed that there was a new game of any type in the works by this studio right now.
On the bright side, maybe it means they'll have something for all the employees to do once WildStar shuts down.
Wow. Maybe that's the entire reason they're doing it.
I don't think it's MMORPG related. I think at best it's something smaller, co-op-y type thing going on. That's...
Could be.
I'm telling you, it's something with an acronym that's about this long.
Right. Before we head over to the bombs, we put up a couple first looks in the last week or so. Let's talk about them a little bit. Let's do Brawl of Ages first, because I think this is going to be much shorter than the other one.
Just like the matches.
Yeah, so it's MOBA / card game, Brawl of Ages, very reminiscent of some other titles out there, Battle Royale type things and some mobile games out there. I thought, it didn't do anything like particularly new or innovative, but I did feel, at least playing the game, that the matches were exciting. They were fast. They were very fast. There was an element of chance, but depended a lot on strategy. I did feel, though, and I don't know if you guys felt the same watching through the first look or playing it at all if you played it, I did feel like the matchmaking really, really needs work right now, because if you have not opened up new cards, then you're going to get swamped, just because some of the other cards are so far ahead of what your starting deck is that you just really don't have a chance. But other than that, which I'm sure is something they can work out, I thought it was a cute game. It was kind of exciting to play. I don't know if I'd stick around very long playing it, but I've certainly played worse over the years. Jason?
Yeah, it didn't completely suck. So, I kind of went into expecting that, but I watched you play, and I was like, okay, this is something I wouldn't hate playing, but I think I'd play it more on a mobile device or something than sticking my PC for hours playing on it. So, they just want to get some of that Steam cash, so good for them.
Q, what'd you think?
I kind of the same thing, it looks cute. It's one of those things, though, where you say it's not something you'd invest a lot of time in. Isn't that the point of these games?
What, to just be short time? Well, and yeah, I would absolutely agree.
You're bored at work or something, and you're like, like you decide you don't want to do whatever it is that you should be doing at work, and you're just like, well, I'll just go do this for 15 minutes, and then you're done and you go back to work.
Yeah, and it definitely feels like the 900 other mobile-type games that this game is clearly spawned from. So yeah, it does feel like that 15-minute time waster in between conference calls type deal. The other one we did, though, which I've still played since then, which is, you know, that's like the highest praise I can give a game that I do a first look on, is that I still played it after the first look, was Krosmaga. Jason, you and I actually did a duo first look here where we played it together, and I think both of us were kind of pleasantly surprised by how much we enjoyed this damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, it had a, you know, we talked about this beforehand. We talked about how, you know, we're not really big fans of card game / board game hybrids. You know, I won't name what the other games are, but, you know, it's just stuff we don't really care for a whole lot. But we went into this and I kind of liked it. It had a little bit of a board game-ish feel to it, but not so much on the tactical level of those other games where you have to really plot out everything, because it kind of automated some of the movement and so on. So it made parts of it a little easier to deal with. But yeah, it had just enough strategy to be a little different from a card game. And it had, you know, the cute art and whatever that just made it vaguely appealing in another way. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of liked it. And I've come close to playing it a couple times. I've looked at the button on my Steam and almost booted it up a few times, but...
And if you're a fan of the Dofus universe, then this is kind of a no-brainer to check out. I actually thought this game was quite a bit of fun with the 5 lanes and trying to take out the Dofus at the end of the lane and the different cards.
All
and
the seeds.
All
my seeds.
And the tongue-in-cheek humor, you know, some of the character names and the minion names. I honestly thought this was a lot of fun. Q, what did you think?
It looked like it was actually a good bit of fun. And the art style, I actually really like that art style.
Well, that goes with the whole Dofus, Whack-Fu
yeah, exactly.
Art
style. I mean,
style.
it makes it look like a very clean, polished, even obviously small game, but still it gives it kind of a you know, pretty polished look for one of those kinds of games. And the system for it, you know, the basically just getting to the other end of the board and, you know, getting the eggs thing. I mean, it's very simple, but I feel like with the cards and everything, there's enough strategy in it that you can, you know, actually make it an interesting game to play instead of just get your butt to the other end and kill an egg.
Yeah, I absolutely, you're dead on there. Playing the game, there is an insane amount of strategy. And we saw it just in the first look. You know, Jason has this master plan, makes one mistake in executing it, and he pays for it that turn. I do the same thing later in the match, and I end up paying for it on that turn, too. I mean, it's an instant, if you don't plan it right, you're probably going to pay, and I love when I feel like I lost because I made a mistake rather than I lost because Jason's been playing for 6 days and has 900 better cards than me. I think that feels great. It's really well balanced on that front, Jason. All in all, I give that one a thumbs up. Brawl of Ages, I'm going to give a sideways thumb to kind of down. I mean, there's an awful lot of other games that clearly inspired Brawl of Ages. But Krosmaga, if you're looking for something different, check it out. It's a really small download, so it's not even going to cost you time. Let's slide over and get the weekly bombs. Q, you're up.
I'm just going to give it the bomb to actually being back.
Woohoo!
Like, real internet, like real internet, not trying to use, you know, a Sprint hotspot to work on, which sucks.
I'm going to give a dub bomb to free StarCraft. So as the StarCraft 4K version is in the works, Blizzard is now giving the original StarCraft away for free. Go to your battle.net launcher and check it out. Jason.
So Q gives a dub bomb to not having to move anymore. Well, I'm giving an A bomb to moving because I'm doing it next week. So yeah, finally escaping Texas, which I guess is kind of a dub bomb thing, but just overall the stress of having to deal with, even though I've had like 2 months to get this ready, and I've got I'm like 75% packed, but there's still some crap. I can't move the computer. I got to keep that around for the weekend. You know, all this other junk, and it's just like, I don't want to have to deal with it.
It could be worse. You could.
Well, yeah, I know. Your stories are
5 weeks in a motel.
Yeah. At least I'm moving into an actual house. I already know where I'm going, so that part's will be easy. But
or a tent. There was a period of time, Q, you were in a tent for a few days.
No, for a few weeks.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, with the bird.
She was actually in the Alaskan wilderness hunting polar bears.
From the viewers, Penline says, an A-bomb to magicman for his continued hate on auto-pathing, a feature I like because it saves time. If it's the default, accept a quest and you go there, then it's bad. But if you have to click on the quest objective to use it, then it's okay. If you do not want autopath, then do not use it. Have never owned a game console, but the more players a game has, the better. Well, you know, I hate autopathing. What can I say? Sorry,
you don't have to click on the quest objective. So what is... He's okay with autopathing to the thing, but he's not okay if once you get to the thing, you don't have to click on him. Having to click on him, that makes the entire difference.
I guess, and hey, who am I to judge that? Whatever. Right. Go ahead, Jason.
Michelle Sanctuary says, Dear Mike Byrne, how much is Sony paying you for saying wonderful things about consoles?
If Sony was paying me, you'd know. I'd have a Sony t-shirt on with the Sony hoodie, the Sony hat. I'd sit here with a PlayStation controller in camera shot the entire time. They aren't paying me shit. But if they ever do, you'll know right away. You'll know right away. Go ahead, Q.
Real True Toniness says, the bomb to marshmallow peeps, solid milk chocolate bunnies, and Cadbury cream eggs to give me all the sugar I need to game or grind on Easter weekend. I do have to question the sanity of the peeps. Just saying.
I've never gotten peeps. I've never...
Cadbury cream eggs, though. Oof.
Yeah. And chocolate bunnies.
I can't have those anymore.
Not hollow ones. Hollow chocolate bunnies are a ripoff.
They have to be the solid ones.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tommy Berrien says, A-bomb to Magic Man's glorified PC, dub-bomb to Zach, PC Master Race, rawr! Because of the controller debacle from the last show. Go ahead, Jason.
Marko Zikovic says, yes, Neverwinter feels good on consoles because the whole game is so simplistic. It's one of the reasons why I don't play it at all. Having only 4 skills to use is very limiting. And Terra, I don't know how they managed to make it work on console because the game is not really optimized very well. Lol.
Yeah, I can't disagree there on Terra, although I feel like it's going to have to be optimized because you're going to a console at that point, so it's a known entity as far as the power. And Marco, you may be absolutely right. Neverwinter probably does feel good on the console because it is a little more simplistic. I'm not even going to argue with that. That's a damn good point. Go ahead, Q.
Kinetic Fetus. I've missed that name. I agree with Magic Man. Almost every game that I played on PC was more enjoyable on the console except for Warframe. I did go back and play it again recently, and I found they did a lot of improvement on the controls.
Yay!
I prefer playing games on console most of the time. It's just easier on my hands.
Yeah. Brian H. has the flip side of that. He says, it seems like Magic Man thinks everyone must feel the same way he does. No, I'm sorry if you got that impression. The argument between Zach and I was not to try and sway him to my point of view. It was, he was misunderstanding the difference in my mind from developing for a controller and tying that specifically to a console, which was not the I was making the point that the controller became a necessity when you developed for console, and so sometimes it was better. In fact, I prefer that nobody agrees with me because I'm insane. Go ahead, Jason.
That's fine. I never agree with you.
No, you don't. That's why we get along.
All right. Neo Phantom says, after all the talk about MMOs going to console, I remember that Red 5 made an announcement about a year ago about bringing Firefall to PlayStation 4.
Yes, they did.
1 year ago? Really? Not?
I forgot about that.
Was that recently? Because, okay. Was that before or after they were bought by the textile? That was when they were bought by the textile company, wasn't it? I think it was. Whatever. So anyway, so he continues. So I went on the website to see if there was any release date. I wanted to see the last post they ever made was the very same I read a year ago, May 2016. I'm giving an A-bomb to Red 5 for definitive lack of communication on their website and forums. Talking about Fireball forums is now full of active players wondering if the game is dead. Wake up, Red 5. Nap time is over. Is it coming to console? Is the game dead? You know, I will be shocked if Firefall winds up staying alive longer than WildStar.
Wow. And yeah, he's right. It was May 2016. Hello, Firefall fans. We wanted to take time to discuss Firefall and our plans for other platforms. Red 5 Studios cherishes the Firefall IP, and we're continuing to make the game in the best way we can. Additionally, we are working to bring the IP to other platforms such as PlayStation 4 and mobile.
And by the way, we're going to shut down randomly for 2 weeks in December.
And
maybe they're taking their development cues from the Cube World guy now.
But that is also the latest news post, too.
Wait, maybe Cube World,
it is
right?
the latest news post, May 26, 2016.
Maybe they're putting it on the O box.
God. Go ahead, Q.
Edokoda. Also, I want to give a DeBomb shout for a game I've not gotten into much, but I feel deserves the love from the old Ultima Online crowd, Link Realms. While not fully polished yet, it gives you the freedom to do whatever you want, and you can play it right now via Steam or their site and dive into PvE or PvP. Also, side note, the only game that does auto-pathing for a good reason is BDO. I would have some sore fingers from just holding the W key down with all the running around in that game.
Yes.
Fair point.
Black Desert Online, you are definitely right. Sorvent TV, I can't stand when an MMO seems like it can be run on a controller, and you know it would feel great on one, but when you plug one in, it either has no support for it, or they give you like 6 buttons to map on a game that has more than 13 that you need. Also, I hate it when free-to-play MMO companies focus so much on the cash shop, but ignore when people speak out about issues they need to fix, and instead add a new weapon or a skin for said weapon, like they're telling us, here's some free shit, just forget about the problems. Question of the week last week. Recent MMO... Excuse me. Recent MMO matchup time: Blade and Soul or Revelation Online, and why? And boy, this...
We need to finish this cast before Mike dies.
Right. This caused some debate. Lagwin1980 said, question of the week, only by default Blade and Soul. I saw the anime, gave it a try, dropped it soon after. Revelation never grabbed my interest at all. So I'll keep score. That's 1 for Blade and Soul. Go ahead, Jason.
Adrian says, question of the week, none for me. Blade and Soul combat was good, but the lack of crafting gathering with that item upgrade system really turned me off, and I just stopped playing after a short while. I've not even played Revelation Online yet. I used to be more curious about new games a few years ago, but now I do not even want to try it in closed beta with all the issues I've seen online, but I did hit that install button when it went into open beta. Just checked for this comment. It was at 210 megabytes out of 15 gig. That much I cared about it. Going to actually download this today, maybe.
All right, so that's a no vote to anybody. So still 1-0 Blade and Soul. Go ahead, Q.
Parallel 45. I prefer Blade and Soul to Revelation. Both games have decent combat and a lot of PvE, PvP content. However, Revelation has one fatal flaw. It was published by My.com in the West. I've never seen such a lazy, half-assed port as Revelation, with vast swaths of the game untranslated to the point of being worse than a fan-made English patch. At least NC West cared enough about the Western port to translate everything and hire English voice actors.
And boy, that has been a sore point in the Revelation Online since the betas, was the localization. So 2-0 Blade and Soul. Agent Nuki says, Blade and Soul or Revelation Online? Neither. But if a gun is pointed to my head and I have to pick, I would pick Revelation Online. Blade and Soul, after a while, got boring and repetitive. PvE in Blade and Soul is meh, not really interesting, and PvP is only okay. It's competitive and a lot of skills required to win a match in Arena, but you only have 2 options, 1v1 and 3v3. Revelation Online has more options than Blade and Soul. If you're a PvE person, this game has enough content for you to be satisfied. If you're a PvP person, this game also has enough content for you. You have arenas, battlegrounds, GVGs, and sieges. So 2-1. Blade and Soul's in the lead. Go ahead, Jason.
John D says, as the question of the week, I would have to say Blade and Soul, purely because I couldn't get past Revelation Online's severe hand-holding and nonsensical dialogue, maybe say WTF and uninstall. This game seems tailored to 10-year-olds that never played a game in their life. Maybe this changes later in the game, but I have no patience for that crap. Oh, and that damn running pisses me off too. Again, WTF.
Thank you, John. Somebody finally with me on the running in Revelation Online. Looking bizarre. All right, 3-1, Blade and Soul's lead. Finish it up, Q.
Okada, as far as Blade and Soul versus Revelation Online, I have to give it to Blade and Soul. Not only did it launch open beta fully translated, but it just flows a lot better in combat, along with running better on my PC rig without unexplained frame hiccups. Plus, Blade and Soul just looks a lot better polished as far as the world design and texturing.
So 4-1. Let's cast our votes. Q, out of the 2, which for you?
I think Blade and Soul just because I think it's prettier.
Jason?
I haven't played either. I got to give a no vote. They both don't excite me.
All right, I'll put it for Blade and Soul, and I'm going to give Jason's vote to Blade and Soul. So that clearly just gives Blade and Soul the win over Revelation Online. Question of the week this week, Tell me about your most memorable boss fight in an MMO. It could be a solo dungeon, a raid boss, because of the story, because the boss model was awesome, because the mechanics were awesome. For whatever reason, I want to know the coolest boss, most memorable boss in an MMO for you. And it doesn't have to be free to play. We're talking about the bosses, not the actual game. So tell us about it in the comments below. While you're there, don't forget your weekly bombs. D-bomb for something good, A-bomb for something bad. And if you've got a question for anybody on the panel, put it in the comments below, and we'll feature it on next week's show. Until then, Q, where can everybody find you?
On the Twitters at Quintland, and maybe on Twitch soon again. I'm thinking about starting to stream now that I have, real internet again.
Mr. Winter.
Find me on Twitter at WinterInformal, and I'll be streaming again in a few weeks whenever I get all set up and everything. And gosh, Q is distracting me with the puppy.
I'm Mike Byrne, aka magicman. You can follow me on Twitter at magicman1. Of course, while you're there, follow at MMOBomb so that you get all the latest news, articles, giveaways, interviews, first look videos, and more thrown right at your Twitter feed. Until next time, gang, stay safe. We'll see you on the servers.